Woke up quick at about noon.
And welcome into the podcast with Damien Barling, the 316 version of the podcast with Damien Barling, presented as always by Vibe Health Bar, where you can get the protein-packed peanut butter dream with 23 grams of plant-based protein to fuel your day, charge your muscles, and fire up your metabolism. With locations in East Sacramento, Oak Park, and Folsom, Vibe Health Bar is where busy people go to achieve vibrant health. Welcome in here, as I said, the 316 edition of the podcast, the March 16th edition. So happy that you're here. Lots of news to talk about. Obviously, our world is still very much dominated by what's going on in real life and not the sports world. And it's still very much dominated by the coronavirus and all of the steps that we've got to take. We're kind of all on quarantine right now, so to speak. Kind of not a mandatory quarantine, though I think we're getting closer and closer to that. But I still think there's plenty in the sports world to talk about. We'll talk about the NFL. The CBA gets ratified. That is just a major, major story. The fact that the narrowness in which it was approved is also a major, major, major story. We'll talk about all of that. But the new NFL league year has begun. Franchise tags are due. Legal tampering, I think, is in full effect beginning right now, which is the stupidest term that, whether it was the players union or the owners or whoever created the term legal tampering, created the absolute most stupidest time frame within free agency. Just start free agency right now. But I think you can start talking to teams and start laying out contracts for the potential new year. The league year was not pushed back in the new collective bargaining agreement. They're just business as usual for right now. The NFL is, while the rest of the sports leagues and from the NBA to Major League Baseball to the NFL, obviously, I guess that's where we should start. Gatherings of a certain number of people, depending on the states, have been asked to just not take place, which it's virtually, I think in many states it's 50. And I think that started to put into perspective the potential for the NBA to return, even if the NBA just returned, which my original theory was the NBA returns, produce it as a television show, similar to what Vince McMahon and the WWE crew did on Friday. Now, it was weird. Don't get me wrong. If you saw Smackdown on Friday, you knew it was weird. Like there were matches taking place and interviews being done and all of this stuff in an empty. It's not an arena; it's their training facility, but in an empty venue. It was staged for television. It has the big video board. It's very, it looks like a regular arena, just much smaller. And that's how Monday Night Raw is going to be tonight. I assume that's how SmackDown is going to be Friday. It's going to have to be how WWE programming is for the foreseeable future. You got Monday Night Raw tonight with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I think Edge is on it. I think The Undertaker's on it. They're all going to be performing in front of a live crowd, and I think Meltzer wrote some stuff this last couple of days where Friday was kind of they were just trying to get through the day and figure out what to do. Tonight's show is likely to be a lot different. It's also 3 hours. I think coming up this Friday, again, they haven't announced it, but they don't really have a choice. It's going to have to be at the Performance Center again. Rob Gronkowski is going to be a part of WWE Smackdown. Remember, Rob Gronkowski's thing also was he had signed a deal to be with the WWE, and he was also going to be a part of WrestleMania. Tampa, and where the location of WrestleMania and the WWE are kind of in this game of chicken right now, where it's like each of them are waiting for the other one to pull the plug on WrestleMania. And I don't know if there's a strategic, legal reason that WWE is attempting to hold out and make the city cancel it versus if they cancel it. I don't know if there are insurance reasons why this makes more sense. I'm not going to pretend to know, but it's fascinating watching the two entities because WWE was like, well, we're waiting to see what the city wants to do, and the city is saying we're really just waiting for the WWE to pull the plug on this. One thing we know is WrestleMania in Tampa isn't happening. It's just it's not. It's not happening because of the mandate put out yesterday about gatherings of 50 people or more. It's not happening just because it it would just be absolutely insane for a publicly traded company like the WWE to put on this massive event where people fly in from all over the world to be a part of. And there's going to be serious ramifications for smaller. I mean, we talked about this last week. WrestleMania is a week-long event that encompasses dozens and dozens and dozens of smaller promotions. And they run events in and around the area of where WrestleMania is at. They're all going to lose their events. This is, WrestleMania week. It's Super Bowl week. It's the biggest week of the year for the professional wrestling business, the sports entertainment business. And why, I feel bad for guys like Drew McIntyre and some of these guys who were getting set up for these really big moments at WrestleMania. And God knows how long we're going to be stuck with Goldberg having the WWE Championship. In any event, that's a story that's going to culminate here pretty soon, what the WWE is going to be doing moving forward, because I can't imagine them having WrestleMania at the Performance Center without anybody in sight. So how they approach things over these next couple of weeks will be really interesting, though. This should be a fascinating week of television with, as we said, Stone Cold and Edge and The Undertaker all on. Remember, Edge and the Undertaker, they're setting up stuff for WrestleMania, which right now we have no idea how it's going to take place. It feels like if they're going to move forward with programming tonight with those two people, that we're going to get something on WrestleMania Sunday. It's just, what is it going to be? What will it wind up being? What will it wind up looking like? Is it just going to continue to be shows out of the Performance Center? And then, of course, on Friday, we'll get the debut of, or I guess the official debut of the new WWE version of Rob Gronkowski. So, people, a lot of people were doing the math yesterday as it pertains to, the NBA and the CDC recommending that there be no gatherings of 50 or more, and for, I think it was the next 2 months. So that kind of throws out, okay, the NBA had said, okay, 30 days, we're hitting pause on everything for 30 days. The NBA has not figured out what they're doing. And I think what they did was the right thing. They stepped back and they said, okay, we're going to suspend everything. We're not going to decide what we're going to do. We're just going to stop. We're going to suspend everything for right now, and it's over. And over the next 30 days, we'll figure it out. Well, it really didn't take long. It only took a couple of days, and some of these things, they're going to be figured out for them. The CDC is recommending. These aren't laws. These aren't rules. These aren't things where tanks are going to come plowing through and sending people home. I mean, some of you probably saw the pictures from Disney World last night. Just thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people gathered there before they shut the door on the park. And it's irresponsible. Sure. It's 100% irresponsible. But you don't have to adhere to this. Unfortunately for the NBA, or, unfortunately for the NBA, fortunately for common sense, they've kind of been at the, they're the socially conscious sports league. They're the responsible sports league. They were the first ones. They're really the ones who shut down sports as we know it. When they got the first positive test of Rudy Gobert, they shut everything down. In the middle of a slate of games, they said, this is over. We're done. Season's over. Season is suspended. We'll figure it out over the course of the next month. And now you've got, and again, I thought my idea of playing in front of an empty arena worked. 50 people, you start to do the math, you start to figure out, well, you got coaches and trainers, and then you've got to have, you don't have to have a massive slate of media there, but you need to have, let's just say for argument's sake, you need to have a writer for each team, and then it's going to be difficult to pick, is it the beat writer for the local newspaper? Is it whatever? Maybe you have one writer for each team and then one national writer. So you get, this writer, and then you get a Sam Amick thrown in there or something like that. But then you've got the TV crews. Okay, well, you could get through the TV portion of it by broadcasting, just off of a monitor, right? Broadcasting just off of the feed. You're either in a suite or a box, or you're not even at the arena. Maybe you're inside the television truck. You could do it that way. But still, you're getting really, really close to that 50 number. Though I think you could have, 50 people in the arena and still have them spread out, obviously with the exception being the players. And that's what this all boils down to, is making sure that the players stay healthy. The players, the coaches, the people who have interaction with each other on a day-to-day basis. Then you've got, well, okay, if we're doing it, because there's no point in having it at an NBA arena because the arena is empty. There's no point. So could you do it at practice facilities? Could you find a neutral site where, because again, there's no home court advantage. Could you find a neutral site where you don't have to like change hotel rooms, right? Because, you start factoring in hotels and clerks and usher, people handing keys, all of these sorts of different things. It just increases the likelihood of someone potentially getting sick. Ultimately, as I've gone through all of these scenarios over and over and over in my head, while I thought the television production of the NBA season would work, ultimately, I think we're going to lose the NBA season. I think we're going to lose the playoffs. I think we're going to lose the NBA finals. I think we're going to lose all of that stuff because I just don't see how it can happen. The only real way, I mean, if you really start, because we've already talked about, if they were able to come back, the regular season has to be over. Like all NBA teams just have to acknowledge that the regular season is 100% over. And then now maybe if you start abbreviating the playoffs where the first two rounds are maybe best of 5, maybe even best 2 out of 3, you do that way. I think the bigger issue, though, is where will they be played? How can you eliminate travel? Even though these guys travel by charter, it's still checking into these hotels and different things like that. Like, how can you have essentially like a quarantined hotel where, whoever is working there is safe, like, or is not infected? And then there's the other thing. Who's to say one day they're not infected and then the next day they are? Like, there's just so much that plays into this that ultimately leads me to believe this NBA season, isn't happening. But it's a situation Adam Silver and his team will continue to monitor. I think we're going to hear more about it in the upcoming days. I think they're laying out a variety of contingency plans. 2 months from now, where are we at? Mid-May? In 2 months, we're in mid-May. So, that's right around, like, we're flirting with the start of the conference finals right there. So, I mean, I don't know what our world looks like in 60 days. Honestly, I don't know what it looks like in 2 months. I mean, if you had tickets to an event at the Golden One Center, it's not happening. It may not have officially been canceled yet, but it's not happening. Michelle Obama was supposed to be at the Golden One Center April 1st. There's no way that's going to happen. I know there's a number of concerts, events have been called up. It's not happening. So we're just going to have to hunker down and hang out together. I watched a movie I watched it. Have y'all seen, and I promise there's a ton of NFL news. I don't know why it's taking me so long to get to it, but have y'all seen Uncut Gems? The Adam Silver movie? The Adam Sandler movie? It'd be impressive if it was Adam Silver. Adam Sandler got so much praise because this wasn't like a goofball movie. Like, it was like a dramatic role. It was a serious role. It had like a 92% rating. And I had heard a lot about it. And I listen to Dan Patrick a lot. And Dan Patrick and Adam Sandler are really close. That crew just kept singing the praises of the movie, and they were talking about how good Kevin Garnett was, and Kevin Garnett was good in the movie. He was Kevin Garnett, but still, like, he showed depth to it. Like, he was good in the movie. That movie sucked, dude. Like, it was bad. Like, I don't get it. Like, I thought it was awful. I thought the movie was absolutely freaking awful. It was just like, I don't know. It was weak. Go watch it. And obviously I'm alone on this because, again, the rating was 92%. Like, people have been singing the praises. I've read great things about this movie. I was anxious to see it. I was very excited to see it. I was so disappointed. I'm halfway through. I was like, yo, what is this? What is the point in this movie? Like, what is the story that I'm following here? And then, I don't know. You watch it for yourself. Maybe I'm alone on this. 916-888 5898. I need to get one of the little screens to pop up like this one does here that flashes the number across over here on YouTube. Appreciate those who checked out the YouTube live stream last week, our debut there on that platform. And, I wish the show was a little bit more elaborate. The idea was, if you go back to the first couple of days, was to have highlights and different interview clips and stuff like that. Man, highlights aren't really out there right now. I guess we'll have to pull up some archived highlights and throw some of those up here during the broadcast. But I promise this live stream version, it's going to get more elaborate. That was always the idea, was to have an elaborate live stream. It's just there haven't really been a lot of highlights and sound bites to post in there. But we appreciate everybody checking us out on YouTube. Of course, we appreciate everybody who listens, as always, through their favorite podcast platform, whether it is Apple Podcasts, radio.com, Spotify, Google Play, whatever it may be. We appreciate you so very much for being with us. Now let's get to some major news that has been going on in the NFL. We'll get to the CBA portion of the conversation here in just a little bit, but franchise tags are being handed out in just this morning. Dak Prescott, he got the franchise tag from the Dallas Cowboys. That's good for $31.5 million this year. Obviously, his contract extension, as I think Jerry Jones once used the term, his impending, like it's coming, like it's imminent. That was the word he used. It's imminent. His imminent contract extension was a story through the bulk of the regular season. And week after week after week, the Cowboys were winning. Never came. Week after week after week. Then the Cowboys started losing. Never came. Season started to wind down. No contract extension. Well, let's just get into the offseason. Well, here we are in the offseason. No contract extension. He gets a franchise tag again worth $31.5 million. Now, that does not mean that Dak Prescott has to play the upcoming season under the franchise tag. What it means is the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott's agents have until July 15th to do what they have been unable to do since last August, and that's get a contract extension done. So maybe this self-quarantine that we're under will force these two to get on a conference call together, to get these two parties on a conference call together and get this contract knocked out. Of course, there were rumors, I'm certain, put out there by Steven and Jerry and the Jones family that they offered Dak Prescott the richest contract in the history of the NFL, worth about, from what was reported, $33 million a year. I really find it hard to believe that Dak Prescott was offered a contract for $33 million a year and he just said no and sent it back. Now remember, it's the $33 million is new money for him, so it looks a little bit different than the $35 million that Russell Wilson got, because Russell Wilson's money isn't new. Not all of Russell Wilson's money is new. All of this money that Dak Prescott was due to get it's brand new money. He's not under contract. So now he's got the franchise tag. They've got till July 15th to figure this out. And so what was in the language of that alleged $33 million contract? What were the guarantees? What were the non-injury guarantees? What were the option years? How long did this play out? What was the story there? Like, those are details that weren't linked, probably because it came from the Dallas Cowboy organization, and the Dallas Cowboy organization didn't really want us to know the negatives of that contract. When the story doesn't include the pros and the cons, you could easily figure out who the story came from. And this story very obviously came from the Jones family, or it came from someone within the Dallas Cowboys organization in an attempt to say, look what we've been attempting to do for Dak Prescott. He just won't accept it. We've tried to make him the richest quarterback in the history of the NFL. He just doesn't want to be. He doesn't. He wants to be the richest of the richest, rich quarterback. Like, nah, come on, man. That's not how contracts in the NFL work. Sometimes in the NBA, when the TV contracts change, like we did a couple of years ago, we see, massive jumps in max contracts, like huge jumps. That's not the case in the NFL. It never has been. It probably never will be. Contracts just tend to inch up $1 million, $1.5 million. Occasionally, very, very rarely, could you get a $2 million jump. Again, you look at the most recent quarterbacks who were the highest paid quarterbacks. Jared Goff, 33.5. Aaron Rodgers, 33.5. Ben Roethlisberger, 34. Russell Wilson, 35. So the whole story that Dak was trying to go from 35 to 40 doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. And I don't think there's an NBA agent that would approach I don't think there's an NBA agent. I don't think there's an NFL agent that would approach a contract negotiation in that form. That just doesn't make sense. A couple of other major quarterback notes. Ryan Tannehill, the Tennessee Titans, they've agreed to a 4-year deal with Ryan Tannehill that will pay him $118 million. The deal, which has an average annual value of $29.5, includes $62 million fully guaranteed. He also, so remember, $62 million fully guaranteed. That means no matter what, when this contract is signed, he's getting $62 million. He's probably getting it up front. $62 million fully guaranteed. The contract lays out over the course of the 4 years that he has $91 million in total guarantees. So a pretty good deal for Ryan Tannehill. It puts him in the conversation. We had just mentioned Russell Wilson, Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers. We mentioned Jared Goff. So you get into the next tier of quarterbacks. You have Matt Ryan right there at $30 million. Now you have Ryan Tannehill at $29.5 million, and just below him, a quarterback who made some news today, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins signed a 2-year contract extension with the Minnesota Vikings. We'll get you the numbers on that here in just a heartbeat. Want to stay focusing on Ryan Tannehill just for a minute, because Ryan Tannehill had a job that another quarterback, for whatever reason, was pretty closely aligned with over the course of the last few weeks. All we had heard was Tom Brady, if he's going anywhere, he's going to Tennessee. Look at him. He's in the front row of a Syracuse basketball game, FaceTime and Mike Vrabel. Oh, this is happening. Oh, you franchise tag Derrick Henry, which they did. Get to that in a minute as well. But you do that. Oh, what a juggernaut the Tennessee Titans could be. Apparently not so much. I didn't understand that line of thinking at all. But I don't know what this means for Tom Brady. I assume it means what us have said for weeks, that he's just staying with the New England Patriots. Not gonna go play anywhere else. Like, what's his, like, what if Bill Belichick believes that Tom Brady can be the quarterback that helps them win their next championship, Tom Brady's gonna be the quarterback. Tom Brady ain't going nowhere. Oh, he might go to the San Francisco 49ers. Man, he ain't going to the 49ers. Just stop that. That's silliness. Kirk Cousins 13-3. Give me a break. Plus, he's like 20-something years old. Oh, he could go play for Minnesota. No, they got Kirk Cousins there long term. He's not going anywhere. He's going to play for the freaking New England Patriots. And hopefully the signing of Ryan Tannehill puts an end to this conversation. Now, all the clickbait articles say, well, Ryan Tannehill is signed with the Titans. What does that mean for Brady? They were never in the running. It was always these two teams. I won't click on it. I refuse. Obviously, one of them is New England. I don't give a damn who the other one is, because it's just going to vary. A couple weeks ago, it was New England and Tennessee. Then it was New England and San Francisco. Now it's going to be New England and who? Was it Tampa now? We're going to go play for Bruce Arians? Like, who's it going to be next? Was he going to go take Russell Wilson's place in Seattle? What do we got? What are your guesses here? He's going to play with New England, right? 916-888-5898. Obviously, those folks on YouTube, you've got your own chat room. If you want to text here to our 24/7 text line, you could do that again, 916-888-5898. I had mentioned Derrick Henry just a moment ago. The Tennessee Titans, very busy couple of days for them as they have applied the franchise tag to Derrick Henry. Smart move for them, and it's difficult for running backs. Running backs having career years and getting rewarded for it in terms of long-term money. That doesn't happen in the NFL. It doesn't, but specifically, it doesn't happen at that position. It happens in the NFL at different positions, but not the running back position. Because I think there's a belief in the NFL that, like, okay, you've got one good year. And if you get that good year, great. and maybe we'll hit him with the franchise tag to see if we could get one more out of him. But, signing a long-term contract extension, there are people like what happened because when you're a running back and you sign that contract extension, it immediately falls into question. Todd Gurley, he signed his contract extension. Immediately, it all falls into question because, well, he missed games the next year. Is he healthy? Like, is Todd Gurley truly healthy? Ezekiel Elliott had a fine year last year. Fine. Wasn't great. Wasn't the best running back in the NFL. But when you're the highest paid running back in the NFL, you better be pretty close to the best. And he's not. And he wasn't last year. He was good, though. It was fine. But you're looked at differently when you're paid, especially as a running back. Well, I think you're looked at differently when you're paid big money, period. But when you're paid big money as a running back, they'll jump off that bandwagon quick. Like, look at Ezekiel. What are the Cowboys going to do with Ezekiel Elliott moving forward? No, nothing. He's going to have a full offseason. He's going to have a full training camp. And I think he's going to be great next year. I think he's going to be phenomenal. I think he's the best running back in the league. Now, Derrick Henry is a completely different type of running back. I think we have. So here are the franchise. Here's the round of franchise tags that have come out because there's quite a few, and it's a couple of really big names that you know of. Obviously, Dak Prescott's the biggest, which we talked about there. Didn't mention this one, AJ Green. AJ Green. Very few players in the NFL will embrace the franchise tag, but AJ Green knows what the franchise tag was for a wide receiver, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to turn my nose up on that if they offer it to me," and they did. And so unless the contract extension is done, again, by July 15th, A.J. Green will be playing under the franchise tag. We just mentioned Derrick Henry. Kansas City has franchised Chris Jones. Shaq Barrett has been franchised by Tampa Bay. Leonard Williams and the Giants. Hunter Henry and the Los Angeles Chargers. That came over this weekend. Bud Dupree and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Justin Simmons and the Denver Broncos, just to name a couple. There. Blake Griffin turns 31 today. That has nothing to do with nothing. I just happened to be on Twitter and saw that. Wait a minute. Okay, I thought I was making the Bruce Arians thing up. Apparently, I'm not. The Bucs are now the favorite to sign Tom Brady. This is according to BetOnline. The Bucs, the Patriots, the Chargers are still in the mix. I should have mentioned them earlier, I guess. The 49ers, which is absolute insanity, and your Las Vegas Raiders. I've been wanting to call them the Raiders just for years, but I always get sucked into calling them the Oakland Raiders, and now I'm mad at myself. Just call them the Raiders. Here's some more details on the Kirk Cousins contract that we had just briefly mentioned a couple of moments ago. New deal, is 2 new years for $66 million. That includes $10 million in new money now, $10 million in cap relief for the Vikings. The 2020 season and the 2021 season offer $61 million in guarantees, $35 million in injury guarantees, and that converts to fully guaranteed deal in 2021 for total new guarantees of $96 million. That can't be right. 2021. That must mean through his 2 contracts. Okay. That must mean through the 2 contracts that go over the span of, 5 years, $96 million? Because that's not $96 million guaranteed over the course of the next 2 years. That's insane. So $96 million guaranteed over the course of his contracts with the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins has done all right for himself. In a league that doesn't offer fully guaranteed money to very many players, Kirk Cousins has managed this whole thing brilliantly. The fully guaranteed deal he got from Minnesota, the back-to-back franchise tags that he got from Washington, that dude has made a ton of guaranteed money. And again, like we were just talking about this a minute ago, contracts are evaluated, players are evaluated less on their skill on the field and more on their contracts. Kirk Cousins is a pretty good quarterback. Kirk Cousins isn't nearly as good of a quarterback when you realize how much money he's made over the course of his career. Just scrolling through to see if we've got any other breaking news here as it pertains to contracts. And it doesn't. All right, so we've got it's an eventful day already. I mean, Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry. So the Titans, Mike Vrabel, that crew, they're all in on what they did last year. They're not looking at this like, yeah, we're we've got to retool here. They're like, yo, we were this close. We were up on the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's run it back. Let's run it all back. Got to admire that way of thinking. I mean, Derrick Henry's great. Now the question will be, Derrick Henry was phenomenal last year, and he was a bruiser. And he was, I mean, I went in and I don't, it was definitely a playoff game. I don't recall which one it was, but I was in the TV studio at CBS with Marshall Harris, and a conversation had started. Would you rather get just like, just you just get like shot in the leg where you're completely, you recover, you're completely healthy, it hurts, you're healthy, or you got to get in front of Derrick Henry? Which one would you rather do? And I didn't get the final total on the poll that was going on his text thread, but it was something that's up. It made you think like, man, I don't know that I want to get in front of Derrick Henry, especially in the fourth quarter after I've been beat up for the last 40-something minutes. I don't know that I want to stand in front of that dude. I really don't. Can he do that again? Can he be that physical again? Now, I think we've been asking that question since he came out of Alabama. Like, we've been asking that question. Remember, he won the Heisman Trophy. That dude was getting the ball. Like, I think he touched the ball 300 some odd times that season for Alabama. Like, he was a workhorse. And he's continued to be great. Like, his role has changed a little bit in the NFL, but he hasn't lost a bit of greatness at all. And he was extraordinary last year. Who's the bigger question heading into the Tennessee Titans season? Is it Ryan Tannehill, and can Ryan Tannehill do what he did again? Or is it Derrick Henry, and can Derrick Henry do what he did again? Either way, Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans, they're all about running it back. They're like, yo, let's do this again. We were good enough to get to this point last year. And now, like, look at that division with Tennessee, Indianapolis. Have there been any links between Brady and Indianapolis? Wouldn't that work? Wouldn't that make sense? I mean, there have been links between the Colts and other quarterbacks. Like, weren't the Colts I don't know if betting favorite is the right word, but Phillip Rivers? I mean, is that all that they're missing? Is someone at the quarterback position to kind of help them get over the hump? Help them, because the belief is that was a really, really good football team last year that lost a top-tier quarterback very unexpectedly. And I thought that front office did the right thing by throwing some confidence behind Jacoby Brissett headed into the year. Like, hey, we've got a great team. We believe in our quarterback. Here's how much we believe him. We're going to throw some guaranteed money at him. We're going to add an extra year to his deal. And it didn't really work out. And I don't know that that's the fault of Jacoby. I mean, I think the Colts in general were put in a difficult position last year. But is their team as good as we thought it was last year? Obviously, that's kind of an unknown because they lost Andrew Luck, a week or two before the season started. But the rest of the makeup of their football team, the thought was very good. Okay, what can you do to make up for the quarterback position? You've got Jacksonville, who, I don't know. Houston, okay. At some point, the door is going to shut on that group. Like, not on Deshaun Watson. I don't think I don't think the door is shutting on Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins anytime soon. But I think, J.J. Watt's getting up there in years. That's an important position for him to play. He misses a lot of time. Bill O'Brien's got 9 lives. Like, I don't really know what else to say about that. And then you've got Tennessee. If you had to pick a winner right now at a time in the sports world where we have nothing else to talk about, so let's go ahead and figure out what we're going to do here when the NFL season starts. You pick a winner coming out of that division right now, coming out of that AFC South division. Jacksonville, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Houston. Tennessee's as good as anyone, aren't they? Or better. I still don't get why Tennessee is where Houston should have been. And it's hard to not think that the difference between Tennessee and Houston is Mike Vrabel and Bill O'Brien. Like, because if I give you 4 years, right? That's what Ryan Tannehill just signed. I give you 4 years with Ryan Tannehill or Deshaun Watson, who you want. I think some people would say Ryan Tannehill because, unfortunately, the last couple of seasons, Deshaun Watson has been getting murdered on a football field. Because they haven't done enough or even close to enough to protect him. So he's out there getting laid out on a week-to-week basis. They've got to find a way to protect him. But headed into next year, you got to look at the Tennessee Titans and go, wow, okay. Can they run it back? Can they be great again? Can they be as great as they were last year? I know Sky Naturals is always great. You can head over to SkyNaturalCBD.com. Use the promo code in the game. That'll get you 15% off of your order, whether you're looking for the topical balm, whether you're looking for hemp oil extracts, whether you're looking for something to calm your dogs, your four-legged friends. They've got you covered. They've got dog treats. They've got balm. They've got great swag, hats, T-shirts. They got all of that great stuff. And you can use the promo code in the game to get 15% off of your order. Not your first order, but every order. Every time you go to SkyNaturalCBD.com, use the promo code in the game, and that will get you 15% off your order. I can't sing the praises enough of this company. I can't sing the praises enough of CBD, and I can't sing the praises enough about what this product has done for me in my day-to-day life, in my day-to-day aches and pains, and how it's helped me recover from some of my most difficult training sessions. So go to SkyNaturalCBD.com and use the promo code in the game. As we roll along here, we'll stick with the NFL, and we'll stick with... well, I guess we won't stick with it. We'll transition to the NFL and the NFL players, but as it pertains to the collective bargaining agreement. The NFL players voted to approve a proposed new collective bargaining agreement with the league owners, ensuring NFL labor peace through at least 2030, the next 10 years. And the vote was extremely close. I believe the percentages were 51.5% said yes. And that can lead you to do the math on the percentage that said no. That is a scary close percentage. I almost look at this like we're talking 10 years, right? 10 years and the entire NFL labor force. Maybe it should be like 60-40. Like in the House or the Senate or one of those, isn't it like, oh, you need 60% or you need 2/3, right? In one of those to get something passed through. Like they just needed 50% plus one, and that's damn near what they got. 51.5% said yes. The total number of votes were 1,019 players voted yes. 959 players voted no. So that in it of itself is a problem because there has been no calls for unity within the players union. And this is, I mean, how many times have we talked about this? The weakest union in all of professional sports is the NFLPA. The NFL Players Association is by far the weakest. Their player union is the worst because they're so divided. And it's again, we don't have to keep you. You could go through all the last week's shows and the weeks before shows where we talk about the haves and the have-nots. And that's really what this boils down to for the NFL. But the fact is, the new collective bargaining agreement has passed. I was certain, 99.8% certain, we were headed for a lockout. I'm absolutely stunned that this deal got done. Not only am I stunned that the deal got done, I'm stunned that it got done so quickly. I'm stunned that it got done with a full season to spare. I thought the players union would have more of a backbone. But they don't. It didn't. And here we are, and there are some major changes headed our way as it pertains to the way we consume the NFL. The NFL will be adding 2 new playoff teams starting this upcoming season. Only the top seed in each conference will receive a bye in the divisional round. In each conference, the 2 seed will face the newly playoff-bound 7th seed in an extra wild card game in addition to the 2 traditional matchups, which is the 6 versus the 3 and the 5 versus the 4. Now, owners will have the option to expand the regular season from 16 games to 17 games as early as the 2021 season. So you know what that means, right? It means in the 2021 season, we're having 17 regular season games. Like that was just great wording. Like, oh, well, the owners want the option to be able to extend to 17 games at some point over the next 10 years. Yeah, they're going to do it in the first year that they're able to, which is the 2021 season. The window to extend the schedule is open from 2021 to 2023. Something, again, everyone is of belief that they're going to do it in the first year that they're eligible to do it. The CBA stipulates that the 17 games is the maximum amount of an NBA regular season. So an 18-game season proposal, which we talked about with Amy Trask last week, that is completely off the table, and that's something that can't be negotiated until this collective bargaining agreement is up in 2031. The game day active roster, which we talked about also with Amy Trask, I encourage you to go back and listen to that show in our archives. It has been increased by 2. The active game day roster goes from 46 to 41, and one of those guys must be an offensive lineman. It's a hell of a thing to negotiate for, man. I don't know what to say about that, but okay. Players can no longer be suspended for positive marijuana test. It also limits the testing period to the first 2 weeks of training camp, and it raises the threshold required to test positive. Okay, baby steps as it pertains to marijuana. Most disciplinary cases will now be held by a neutral arbitrator, including personal conduct policy violations. This will eliminate most situations under the previous CBA in which an appeal was heard by the same party who handed down the original discipline, i.e., Commissioner Roger Goodell. Fines have been increased for training camp holdouts and players who leave camp without permission. Who does that benefit? Veterans who leave for more than 5 days cannot have their fines waived by the team upon return and will not earn an accrued season in that year. Who does that benefit? 2.5 hour limit instituted. 2.5 hour limit instituted on padded practices and full speed practices. 16-day limit on days spent in pads during training camp. Financially, the players' share revenue will go up from 47%, which is trash. It is massive trash. It is by far the worst in American professional sports, and it'll go up to 48%, which is trash, massive trash, and by far the worst in American professional sports. So congratulations to the NFL Players Association, who they just don't suck as bad as they did a couple of days ago. The number could go even higher via a, quote, media kicker provision after a 17-game regular season schedule is implemented. If the league increases TV revenue by 60%, I repeat, if the league increases TV revenue by 60%, the players' share of revenue will rise to at least 48.5 and could go as high as 48.8. Let's go, depending on what the results of the TV deals. Now let's go with the belief that everybody hits it out of the park and the revenue goes to 48.8% share for the players. 48.8%. The worst in American sports, 48.8%. That's a deal they haven't even gotten to yet. And it's still the worst. That's the media kicker if their new television deal goes into play. And it's still the worst in professional sports. There's an immediate $100,000 raise for rookie minimum players under the new CBA, with another $50,000 raise scheduled for 2021 and $45,000 for each year after that. There's more money for non-rookie veterans. There's more money for practice squad players. Players already under contract will receive a bonus payment, 1/17 of their base salary, up to $250,000 in the event a 17-game season is implemented. This is all foolish. We know for certain a 17-game season is going to be implemented in just a couple of years. The CBA institutes a veteran salary benefit. There's league performance-based pay program. There's stuff there. Players will get a cut of revenues from legal gambling in NFL stadiums. Good wording right there. Players will receive a cut of revenues from legal gambling in NFL stadiums. Okay. Active players will have pensions increase. So there's some positives there, but the most important things that the players union needed to fight for, they didn't get. I don't even know that they fought for them. Like, did they even fight for guaranteed contracts? Was this even a conversation in this collective bargaining agreement negotiation? I don't know that it was. But I'm not stunned that it passed. The way the conversation was shaking out last week, you started to get, when you saw so many big names coming forward about, hey, this is a bad deal, here's why it's a bad deal, it started to feel like, oh, they're really out there trying to grab those last few votes. When you saw the Russell Okung complaint against DeMaurice Smith, it was like, oh, man. And I haven't seen like a single call for unity within the Players Association, which means like everyone is completely split on this. And they're all looking at each other, looking at like you know, those 1,000 or those 959 people that voted no, they're looking at the 1,019 players that voted yes, like, well, you've made your bed, now you got to sleep in it. And this is a deal that's not in the best interest of any of us. So that's where we're at. It's going to be a lot to follow. I just realized there's a pretty good-sized name that we haven't gotten any word on yet. Yeah, we haven't gotten any word on yet. I'm just checking here about Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, I got to have a deal done or a franchise tag coming his way. Now, I think the Cowboys can franchise him because they use the exclusive tag on Dak Prescott. That means, you know, when you assign a franchise tag, someone can come in and attempt to sign him. It's going to wind up costing that team a ton. Winds up costing them draft picks, more money, all of that stuff. But a team can come in and attempt to sign a franchise tagged player. With the exclusive tag, no one can come in and get him. No one can come in and get Dak Prescott. So we'll see what happens on that front. We'll see what happens on the Dak Prescott front. We're starting to get news. NFL plans to proceed with the televised draft on April 23rd through 25th, but public events in Las Vegas will not take place. So the draft will happen. It just won't happen as we know it. And that's kind of the world that we're living in right now. So I encourage you all to be safe, be smart with your outside activities. If you were able to make me a part of your day today, and obviously if you're listening to this, you did, I greatly appreciate it. I'm going to try to be here through the remainder of all these quarantines, man. We'll just be here. We'll get through this together. If we're going to be bored, we'll be bored together. Appreciate you for listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, radio.com, whatever your podcast platform. If you're watching on YouTube, greatly appreciate you being there as well. And we will be back tomorrow here on the podcast with Damien Barling.